slowly begin to remove a layer. And just taking your time, allowing your hands to move slowly, shedding, removing, bringing in that like soft touch, paying attention to sensations, the sensation of your own touch, of the air.
Welcome to the Awaken Mama podcast, a space where we explore powerful healing modalities, deep conversation, and holistic tools to support your journey to wellness, wholeness, and empowerment. If you're ready to heal, grow, and rise, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Kerry, you are a barefoot medicine woman, a licensed physician of Chinese medicine, and the voice behind the Naked Human podcast. You live off-grid and work closely with the earth, the body, and the unseen. Your work weaves together plant spirit wisdom, nudity as medicine, emotional release, and ancestral healing. You create spaces, retreats, ceremonies, and intimate containers where women can unravel shame, listen to their wombs, and return to the wild truth of who they are. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about where today is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get juicy for everybody just tuning in.
Be prepared.
So, tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Well, that's like a big subject here, and also not. So the work that I'm focusing on right now is the healing medicine of nudity, specifically as it relates to being outside in our natural world and being connected. And I have a background in Chinese medicine, so there's so much of the medicine that speaks through what I'm doing. It's interwoven into this and our connection with the earth. And what's really at the root is, there's the act of physical nudity, but it's about connecting to who we are, like our inner voice, our inner wisdom. And we do that by declothing ourselves and all the energy and the shame and the judgments and this like make wrongs about our bodies. And I mean, as I see it, is like what's wrong about being a human, that we have to, like, we are made to cover ourselves up. We are not safe and it is not okay.
They're just our meat suits, aren't they? They're not who we are.
Yes, they are our meat suits, right? And the body itself has no meaning. Like everything in
Yeah.
life doesn't have meaning until we add it to it. And the naked body has so much meaning to it. And a lot of that meaning is, this like make wrong or shame, judgment. And so it's like literally like peeling back the layers of this meat suit and getting like what's underneath, like what's really going on here and connecting. And when we remove our clothing, there's an aspect of us that gets to be seen that is not normally seen.
I'm quite comfortable being naked. I've always been. I was born that way. I was that little kid that mum would dress me, and then I would run out the backyard, and as I'm running out the backyard, I'm taking my clothes off. And then I birthed children like that. So then my middle child, Jazz, is the same. She loves shoes and handbags, so she'd be like the naked kid wearing my heels and having a bag as a toddler. And the twins love being naked too, and they're nearly 3. My teenage daughter will often walk past. Like we have a door to our hallway where the toilet, the bathroom, and our bedroom is, and that's the part where I'm like, if I'm naked back here, that's on you. I'm going to walk naked from the bathroom to my bedroom. And so often my daughter will be like, oh, Mum, are you ever wearing clothes? Like I'm quite comfortable being naked, but I want my kids to feel comfortable being naked too, rather than feeling shame within their body. And so, yeah, I think that comes with some sort of ancestral stuff where how we feel about our bodies and what blocks that we have there, because I clearly wasn't born with that, with any blocks around nudity and shame.
Would you also say that your parents held an environment for you to be naked? Like when you were running around naked, was that something that you were being shamed about, or was that
No. So
welcomed?
I had a mum. I didn't grow up with a dad, and yeah, she was quite happy for me to run around naked.
Yeah, I have it that that plays a big role. So you like, you said you were born like this, like kind of like internally chuckled because we're all born naked, right? You were saying is that you were born in the way that like you wanted to be naked. And
Yeah,
I have it that we all wanted to be naked as children. Now I have had some conversations with someone who's like, well, some children don't aren't as like naked children as others. And my inquiry about that though is like, what is their environment? Right. And so you had this environment that welcomed that. You weren't being shamed or made wrong about that. And so that matters a whole lot because if we want to be naked, there are children that want to be naked and that's not welcomed. There's they have to be clothed, there's some sort of make wrong about that. There's or fear and not that it's intentional. I don't
yeah,
have it that, every single parent is like, "Oh, this is intentionally." It's just like there's stuff, right? There's
yeah,
fears for sure. There's legit fears. And then there's just the patterning that this isn't okay. And
yeah,
also, like, sometimes it's like, I don't know what to do with this. Right.
mm,
And so, you had this environment that was really conducive to welcoming you being naked, and you're passing that along, just like we pass whatever, whatever we have going on
yeah.
along in providing that space.
It's a positive thing that that's something that I pass, because I could have passed some other shit on, and I'm sure I did, but
Right. Well, I would agree. And thank you. Thank you for being a space. Thank you for being a space as a woman, as a mother, for welcoming that.
we have had conversations within our home that my husband says if it was accepted, like that it wasn't an uncomfortable thing, he'd be naked. It's just a suit that we're wearing. It's not who we are. But my daughter is his stepdaughter, and so he's obviously doesn't want to be making people feel uncomfortable. Yeah, it's it's who we are, right? I mean, it's our soul that really matters.
Yeah. And, just this conversation, like it's our meat suit. It's not really who we are. And one of the beautiful opportunities about getting naked in environments that are non-sexual is that we can start to desensitize ourselves to that, even if it's like starting with ourselves, which is my suggesting to anyone.
I love a good suggestion.
Yeah, so that um do it alone. Start alone, but also in these non-sexual environments is a really great space to start to unravel all the stuff that we're carrying about our bodies. And like I said, I use the word desensitize because, like, we start to, those layers of shame and judgment start to like fall off, like our skin is shedding itself. And so the more that we can do that, the more that this becomes like a normalizing experience of being naked in our body and the stuff that's there. And there's a lot of stuff collapsed in being naked with sex. So the more that we can do that, the more that we can start to shift those in thoughts and beliefs and things that we're carrying around. And also, we can become more comfortable in our own bodies and all the judgments we have about ourselves, like the way that we look or don't look. And so forth.
It's funny you mentioned sex in my past with my ex-husband. When we first got together, I only wanted to have sex with the lights off to start with because I felt so uncomfortable. I think that that's because there was some blocks within the ancestral line to do with shame and things like that. Now, I didn't feel that within my own body, but there was sexual blocks, and I think that's where the pain in my hips come from, and that sort of thing. The women in our family have got that. I find that really interesting because while I can be happy to be free to be naked, the sex was different back then.
Yeah, I feel like you're pointing to something really important because certain environments can bring up different things for us. And it's a reflection of what is that environment bringing to the surface, or what is that experience with that person bringing to the surface. And so while you've had this experience of being like free in your body, and then like in this experience that you had with the partner at the time, there was something coming up. There was a block there. And I think that's so important to note, that just because we might be feeling comfortable being naked in a certain environment doesn't mean that it translates everywhere, because different environments bring up different things. So, um, there was a woman who came to my retreat, or she's been coming to my retreat now for 5 years. And she shared that she was at like this baby blessing, and one of the women there got naked. And she noticed like some tension in her body. And what was different about that is it was a different environment for her. So she's been coming to my retreats and events, and those have specific boundaries, and they're talked about, and we're intentionally coming in all together, and we're all in this, we do it together, and it's a different environment. And so like it's just amazing to see then like what does that bring up. And
Yeah.
so like for me, if I was to go be in a different environment for the first time, like I was going to go to a, you know, a new nudist space or something, like that might bring up stuff for me, and some of that might be because it's a new environment. And, you know, like, and there's also, you know, people I don't know. And so some of my own stuff about like, am I safe, might come up in a totally new environment like that. And so, which is so important to talk about, because it's not a one and done, right? Like, just like with anything, like we learn how to use our voice, and then something happens where we're like, when our, you know, we like swallow it down, and we're like, it's because there's new edges.
Yeah, I can relate to that. In my business, I'm surrounded by women who I absolutely just feel accepted by, and I can be me and be that weirdo that's like doing handstands and and just weird and quirky like I am. We'd been to several events together, but this one I'd gone to where everyone was getting ready together. Anyway, and so I come into the room, and then everyone's getting ready. And then all of a sudden, someone's calling out to me, and they're in the shower. And then someone else is on the toilet and they're talking to me. And I was shocked for a second because I didn't expect it. Because I'm like, these women are more my people than I knew. Like, I've always just felt so comfortable with them. And then I was like, we could be naked together. Like, I would have just got ready, like, here, like, rather than alone and then rock up where everyone was getting ready. Like, yeah. And so it was a different setting. And it shocked me, but not because I felt any way about it, but because I was like, wow, I didn't realize that they felt comfortable too.
Yeah, and especially like being able to use the toilet too. That's a big one
Yeah.
as well. And then do it naked. So that's like, woo, wow. Like you
Yeah.
said, these are my people.
Yeah, it's just the ensuite, and there was someone in front of the mirror. Like everyone was just everywhere, and no one cared. And yeah, and it was beautiful because it was another layer of acceptance that I felt around these women.
You know what else I think is really important that you're highlighting is that the environment matters too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like it sounds like that was a place, like I'm thinking like a women's locker room.
It was a hotel that was like a beautiful big room where our conference was. So there was lots of women all sort of bunking in together. And so each room had like several women sharing beds and camping out on the floors together
Mm.
and all of that. So like it was so nice. And yeah, the environment was just, it was connected, you know, people were.
Yes, I definitely see that. And that makes a difference too. And I
Yeah.
think as women, we're constantly attuned to safety as well. I mean, just like biologically. So, like that environment and feeling it and hearing you share about it, it feels conducive for that. And also, there's like boundaries of the room, and you like know that there's going to be women there, and there are women there. And most likely the only other people to show up are other women. And so as you're sharing that, it's like, yeah, the environment, it does matter for like how safe and comfortable and open we can feel and be in that. And not to say that if there wasn't just women, it wouldn't be like that, but there's like definitely something to note about the environment matters for sure.
So I can imagine that people who are feeling shame within their body about being naked have that ability to be able to be open a lot easier when they go to one of your retreats, because the environment is accepting of that. It is, everyone's there doing the same thing. Your retreat would feel like that safe place.
Yeah, and also it just takes one person to create that permission to, in this example, get naked, right? So being in that environment, it takes one person to kind of
Yeah.
create that opportunity of like, oh, hey, this is welcome. And sometimes for me, it's like I'm like checking in with people, hey, by the way, like, and I'm also learning for myself, like, how do I, because I'm curious about that too. It's like, oh, I'm checking in, and then I'm like, huh, well, that's kind of curious. I'm checking in about, like, is it okay if I'm naked? But, like, what can I create differently in an environment where, and sometimes it's just like, hey, I'm just like, I let people know too. So it's like, especially if it's someone like for the first time, like I'm thinking about a friend who came and stayed with me for a night and we were heading off to a retreat and I just prefaced that. And I remember walking out of the shower and sitting down and like getting my stuff together and then realizing, wow, I felt really comfortable with her as well, that I had already prefaced it, but and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like naked here having this conversation. It feels so good. And I forgot I was naked.
Yeah.
And I also attributed that to her energy and
Yeah.
that as well, and that connection with her of like, wow, I didn't even like, but I also got it out of the way. Like, hey,
Yeah.
by the way, I'm gonna be naked at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be doing
Eliminate the
something
shock factor.
naked. Yeah. And for her, it wasn't a thing. She didn't
Yeah.
have anything in her space about that. But that can also be helpful too, just like having that conversation with someone.
I have a friend who we are so close, and so I turned up to her place, and she was naked. She would just invite me and come in. It's messy in here. I'm naked. The boys are running around, and I'd be like, great, like I'll have a seat. Let's. It wouldn't be a thing, like, and so it's nice to have those people that accept that are part of who you are too. That yeah, be naked. All right, I'll be naked. So we have that understanding of like, if you turn up to my house and I'm naked, just be aware. And we were like, we had that conversation. Oh, I don't care. Like, I'm happy to catch up, and we can go out together, and we can just wear sundresses with nothing on underneath and just like wild
Mm.
hair and just be free. Like, because obviously when you go out to places, you can't just go out naked.
Yeah, usually that's punishable by law, right?
Yeah,
Which is a whole
people don't
nother
like
aspect
that.
of it, right? Like, you will be in trouble if your naked body is seen in this
Yes.
area.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice to have that someone that you can just feel comfortable. Yeah,
Yeah, and like we're highlighting here is like having conversations and talking about it and like getting the conversation out of the way, bringing it to light and letting people know like, hey, if you turn up at my place, there's a high probability I'm going to be naked.
yeah,
So that you're aware.
yeah.
You know what you're walking into.
We used to have pants off a clock. We, when my big kids were little, at the end of the day, we all got sick of wearing clothes, right? So it was just a rule that it was about 5 o'clock when we knew that the guests were no longer expected. Um, Pants off a clock, let's go. And it was funny because it got to that time, someone would take off their clothes and the front door would get locked so that the kids could feel comfortable that someone wasn't just going to rock up. And it was just that freeing time as a family. Like everyone had just ripped their pants off and just be free. Pants off a clock.
I love that. Pants off a clock. And also, like, again, I'm just like, as I'm listening, there's so much like container being created, right? The door is locked, so you know that not just anybody's gonna walk in. And so it is about like having an environment that does feel safe to be, because being naked is vulnerable. And
Yeah,
especially since it's not a universal conversation, there's a layer of vulnerability with that's just there. And so
yeah.
like, yeah, having the door locked so the kids feel safe to like pants off a clock, baby.
Let's go. Yeah.
Mm.
So, what would be a tip that you could give people listening that they could implement to be able to create that safety or feeling comfortable to get naked within themselves if that's something that they're struggling with?
Yeah, such a great question. I suggest starting alone. You don't have to, but that's my suggestion. And then as it relates to safety, so if you're exploring being naked by yourself, creating an environment or a room. So like if there's a room that you want to go into, lock the door, let the people in the house know that like you're going into some undisturbed space. Just maybe if you're like, it's like the same thing you would if you're getting on an important call and or you're meditating or whatever it is, you're taking a bath, like create a boundary. If there are other people in your house, let them know, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to be in this room and I'm to be undisturbed from this time to this time. Lock the door, turn your phone off, like create this environment. If you're home alone, you live alone, just lock your doors and create that container. And also just take a look at like, hey, what else might be important for me to do during this time? Make sure you don't have anything else going on, that sort of thing. And then there are some really simple ways to explore being naked in your own. I suggest starting in your own home, in your own environment where you do feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable in your home. And sleeping naked being one of them, or even like, you know, if there's like the invitation to be completely naked is a little like crunchy, like explore being bottomless, pants off time.
Yeah.
Or sleeping bottomless or topless. That's a really yummy one to sleep naked. It has all sorts of like health benefits. Sleeping better is one of them. And one of the
And
other
if you
ones,
have a partner too, it's such a connection time where even if there's nothing sexual happening, to cuddle naked and sleep next to one another naked, it's nice.
yeah, and also what can be nice about that too, if there's like some resistance, is that like you can get under the covers and it's about like feeling the covers and maybe not feeling so exposed, but you are naked. And so your skin is your skin is totally an organ of communication. And so it's absorbing and feeling and sensing. And so when you're naked, just like when you're naked in the water, when you get into your sheets, into your bed, like your whole body's online feeling that sensation. And so that really opens things up. And then one of the other ones I like to suggest is around like bathing, showering, taking a bath. Like we're naked, but like, do we think about the fact that we're naked? Like most of us probably just it's something we do and we get in the shower and we know we're naked or whatever. But like bring in that awareness of I'm naked, this is my naked body, and bring that awareness into the bath or into the shower. And like as you're, like bathing yourself, even closing your eyes, you're keeping your eyes open, but just like feeling your own touch, like as you're like scrubbing your hair and washing your hair and like bring like more of that awareness of like, wow, this is my naked body. That alone starts to bring more. And then I also like to suggest like being naked a little bit longer. So like drip drying, or if you don't want to drip dry off and then take your towel off and like put your makeup on, or respond to a text, or like just like being in your naked body, or going to the kitchen to get your coffee, or there's just like ways that you can like stretch that being naked out.
Yeah, I love that. Being naked around the house, like I said, I'm very comfortable with. And to be honest, I have no idea how many neighbors have actually seen me naked, whether they have or haven't. I just don't care. And what the funny thing is about where I live at the moment, when we moved in, the neighbors told us that the guy that owned the place previously used to walk around naked. So they built a fence that was higher because they didn't want to see him naked. I giggled to myself because I was like, well, thanks for the fence. But obviously, you can still see. I don't know what the fence is really like. Okay. But anyway, yeah. When,
So you manifested a naked house. It was like perfect for you.
obviously.
Like that house has naked vibes.
Well, at my last house, well, no, actually, okay. So the last house my husband bought was 22 acres. So we had no neighbors. Well, we did. They were cows, so we couldn't see the houses. We could only see if the cows come to the paddock.
Well, and the cows don't care.
Yeah, actually, the bull, I can't remember his name, came to visit once. why is why is there a bull looking at us through the bedroom window? Anyway, so obviously we could be naked there, but when prior we had a big backyard, and my daughter and I would go out and just lay in the sun and sunbake, and sometimes I go out there with like nothing on, and then someone said to me, God, I'd love to be your neighbor. But I'm like, no one's ever looking.
And it does make a difference too, right? Like how we go about it or what we think about it. And generally, if we're like, don't have anything in our space about like concern about being seen, it's probably not an issue.
Yeah.
And even if we do, that's okay. But I have a friend of mine, I was visiting her and we did some yoni sunning, and she was like, I don't think that the neighbors can see, but you know what? They're not even there half the time. And then she was like, I don't care. And it was like, yeah, that's a good space to get to. And we don't all
Yeah.
start there, but we can find
Yeah.
our way there.
I mean, my thoughts are, how long are they going to look? They'll glance, maybe they would double take because might be shocked. But how long are they really going to sit with their attention just staring at someone laying there?
Well, we also can become desensitized to it, becomes normal, right? And what's popping in my head is like, like you get a new puppy and maybe the neighbor's like, oh, they got a new puppy. And they're like looking, but then like eventually it's not that exciting, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's their puppy. And it's just like, and somebody might come over and be like, wow, your neighbor has a puppy? And they're like, yeah, I know they've had a puppy for a long time. And like, it's like,
They go out,
like,
they play with their puppies sometimes. That sounded like
but
more than
it's
it was
like,
meant to.
yeah. Yeah, but that does happen, right? Something then becomes so normal into the space. And
Yeah.
that's the more that we get naked and the more that we lean into that, then like that normalizing can start to infiltrate. So like if you're going to explore being naked, sleeping, there will get a point, and you've never done that, there will get a point where that becomes um a totally different experience, where it's like, yeah, I sleep naked and you're connected to that, and it's like that becomes a normalized space where your nudity can exist. And then there might be another place where you're like, oh, I've never done that before naked. And then like you start cooking breakfast naked, but maybe not bacon. And
Yeah.
though I have had someone cook bacon naked before, and we called him naked
Wow.
bacon.
That's funny. Well, I suppose, yeah, the more that you can feel free and comfortable, then the next part is that feeling sensual. And yeah, one thing can lead to another.
Yeah, and again, like that feeling safe. Like, are you in
Yeah.
an environment that feels safe? And so for me, getting naked was a part of my healing of sexual trespass. And so, like, sometimes in certain environments, like I will have stuff, I've had stuff come up if there's a new type of environment of like my body. Like, am I safe? Am I really safe? Or if I'm in a new environment where there's men, or depending on the context of the environment, sometimes I still notice a little like ping in my body. And so like having a safe environment is so important for that. And if you've had sexual trespass, and I kind of feel like we all have to a certain degree, like it just might not look the same or be the same, but even saying yes when we really meant no's, and or like having sex too soon before we were really ready, and just like whatever might be there for us, like having a safe environment can help us like lean in to our nudity, because there is such that collapse and that intertwining with nudity being sexual, and our nudity being an invitation for sex. And so, yeah, that environment matters so much. And um until we can start to unravel that and heal those parts of ourselves where, like, wow, I mean, I can go to like a nude beach and feel really just like secure in my body and sure.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what this also provides, is that opportunity to tend to those deeper layers of our bodies, and whatever our body is holding on to, or whatever parts of our body are being held on to. Like, I think about like certain body parts, like, being women, we have breasts, and breasts are all sorts of different shapes and sizes. And like, how many of us were teased when we hit puberty? And, or for the breasts that we did have or didn't really have. And like, that energy is stored in our breasts. And
Yeah.
so, like, having environments to like expose our breasts and touch our breast that's the medicine.
Love that. And so today you're going to take us through an undressing. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, I do. So, the first thing that comes in is talking about undressing, is that declothing ourselves isn't just about like our breasts and our pussy. Like, it's not just about these like reproductive sexualized parts of ourselves. And when I do this in groups with women, it is about just taking one layer off at a time. If like, you're like wearing earrings, each earring is a layer. If you have rings on, these are all things that we're wearing that carry energy. And so this like declothing process is one, it's for you, and it's about sensation and feeling and being connected to your body. And this like exposing, like you're declothing, you are exposing something, and it's about like leaning in. So there's always the invitation to lean into where your edge is, and start wherever feels the most comfortable, or wherever that edge is. It could be kind of edgy, So like this declothing process is more than just these particular sexualized parts of our bodies. And also all sorts of parts of our bodies can be like tabooed, tabooized or whatever the word would be for that. We're great with words. But like, even in some cultures, like ankles are very sexual. So
Yeah.
like, even like exposing shoulders could feel a bit, like scandalous or vulnerable. And so all this to say is that this process can really like help us to lean into these particular parts, and it's more than meets the eye. It's this like internal process. So I'm going to do a guided practice of declothing. And so if you're listening, watching, it's an invitation to join in into this experience and lean into your edge. And maybe you're in a public place listening to this. Maybe you're privately in your own home. So, declothing can look like taking a sock off. And so my voice changes when I say that. Take your sock off. And also, I really like to have the invitation to do it slowly. So there's something about, well, slowing down is very healing. It's medicine, especially in like this doing world and this fast pacedness. Like, do it slowly. Like, slowly remove something. And I usually like to say, if you think you're going slow, slow it down even more. And molasses is something I like to suggest. Like molasses, if you know what molasses is, it's like super slow. It's slower than honey. And so,
So if people at home are not in a space where they can do this, then hit the save button to come back and then you can join in.
yeah, hit the save button. And also, there probably is something that you are wearing that maybe you could take off. Like I said, maybe it's a sock.
If you want to take us through.
Yeah, let's do it. So, I want to invite you to close your eyes. And if you're driving, listening to this, don't close your eyes. And so, closing your eyes, bringing your awareness into your body, this beautiful meat skin, this beautiful home here in this world and planet Earth, being a human, this vessel that's containing all your organs, all this energy, all this life force. Just bringing your awareness inward. And you might notice that your breath begins to deepen or change, or your presence becomes more focused and aware of your breath. Placing one hand on your heart, the other hand on your belly, on your womb space. Just taking intentional deep breaths, knowing that this is your body, that it is safe for you to inhabit your body. It is safe for you to shed a layer, taking a moment to just presence yourself to what has shown up for you in this conversation about being naked, about nudity, about your body. Take an inventory of anything that's pinged or felt a little resistant in your body or felt liberating and freeing. Any parts that felt pleasurable or a little anxious, just noticing. There's nothing to fix here or try and make happen. There's nothing wrong or broken. This is an opportunity to connect deeper within yourself, with your body and beyond your body, to the deeper roots of you. Taking a moment just to presence yourself to what being naked means to you, what it means for you. Like, what would being naked or shedding a new layer mean for you? What does this represent? And I want you to just, again, take a note of just what you feel in your body, taking an inventory. Because I'm going to invite you to take an inventory after you remove a layer or two. And I want to invite you now to slowly begin to remove a layer. And just taking your time, allowing your hands to move slowly, shedding, removing. Bringing in that like soft touch. Paying attention to sensations, the sensation of your own touch, of the air. Maybe you're outside and there's the sun, the wind. And with this layer shed, if it feels good, you can bring your hands to some part of your now naked body. And just noticing what you notice, noticing what you feel. Noticing how the air feels on your bare skin. How your own touch feels against your bare skin. And if you are touching some part of you, just release your hands down or release them from that space. What's different in your body? What's the same? Taking a deep breath in, just taking note. And I want to invite you to stay declothed in whatever way you are, if it works for your environment, for the remainder of this conversation. With this new part of you, open, receptive, feeling alive, present, vulnerable, nourished. And you can blink your eyes open, taking your time. How'd everybody go? Crystal, I'm so curious to hear.
Well, I took my socks off first. I always get cold feet and the aircon on in here. So my feet warmed up a little, but my toes still felt cold. And when I took my top off and I started to touch my bare skin, it did warm me. Like I started to just feel warm and comfortable and not cold, because I really feel the cold. Like my body just shivers. I'm comfortable being naked, but I just get cold. But actually just warmed me up, except my toes. My toes still feel cold.
Oh,
But yeah, I feel good and I feel comfortable. I didn't expect that, being a recording that I know is going out to the world. So
yeah, that's interesting that there's this cold. So like your feet are still cold, but other parts of you, like you said, your feet were cold, but then you felt some warmth. but they're still cold as a whole. But then the rest of your body being exposed and even bringing in your own touch brought in this warmth. And, you know, for me, there's something that's really potent here when we are connecting, right? Like you're intentionally connecting, and your own presence can bring warmth. And especially also being like women, we're susceptible to cold. And in Chinese medicine, we're these yin beings, which is the nighttime. It's the watery, it's the more inward, cold, intuitive energy. And like we can have cold in parts of our bodies where we have like stagnation. And so like even exposing ourselves to environments with our own presence can be really healing. And I feel like that got illuminated in you sharing about like your own touch, and there's aspects of like, yes, it did bring in some warmth, like with your toes or feet, but they're like still cold. And I just feel like that is like, that's the juice. That's like what's possible bringing that. And a lot of it has to do, as I see it, with our awareness, right? Like, I can be just like any parts of our lives, right? Like, we can be aware, we can be unaware. So, we can be aware naked and we can be unaware naked. And so, our presence can be really with us, or, we're doing stuff and I could be walking around naked, just thinking and doing things, which is different than like me being like walking with my breath in my body and being aware of, okay, I'm naked, and feeling the wind or the sun or, the water splashing from doing the dishes or whatever's happening.
How good does it feel when you're naked and feel that warmth of the sun, or when you get into water and you feel that cool, refreshing water just wash over your naked body? Like it's just such a, yeah, feels so
As
good.
as
And you
nature
could just,
intended.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and I would suggest that if you're listening and you have not been swimming naked or in the water naked, that is a must. That's a big must. And also then I just think about like, being babies in the womb. Like we were like in water, naked,
Yeah, right.
and experiencing that because like our whole body is online.
And that's why skinny dipping is such a thing that people feel good about. Let's go skinny dipping. Or as a
Hmm.
teenager, I did. You know how you pool hop? Have you ever pool hopped where you like jump into other people's pools and
Oh
you're
no.
playing? Okay. Well, there was hotel units, so the pools were all out the front. So I wasn't like jumping in people's backyards before anyone gets upset with me. And so going skinny dipping, we were doing pool hopping,
Mm.
going in other people's, and we were skinny dipping. And it's that rush and that feeling of excitement and freeing because we were somewhere we weren't meant to be, so that was the rush. But feeling free and feeling naked, and we were together, so it was like just us three of us girls, just having fun, and yeah, that's just reminded me of that, just that ability to just be with one another, and that's why skinny dipping feels so good, is because it's
Mm.
natural and
Yeah.
brings us back to ourselves.
Yeah, and freedom.
Yeah,
Like, I took my like what I had on my body off more, and I just like feel freer. Like there is a liberation to just like being in our bodies and being naked. And that, like you said, the skinny dipping is such a hot thing because it is. I mean, it's so natural
yeah.
and it's so freeing and liberating. And that, yeah, just like thinking about the water on our bare skin, which is totally different than taking a shower or a bath. I mean, like a natural body of water is just such a different experience.
I feel like hamster wheel comes up. So when you're unconsciously just doing the doing, so okay, well, I've got to go have a shower. That's the difference between the naked feeling in your body, then consciously feeling that water running over you, rubbing your skin, and just being conscious and connected. The difference between being on the hamster wheel and just doing, and being present in the moment, being conscious.
Yeah, and just like how you had asked earlier, like a tip or something, like I think maybe that would
Yeah.
be the greatest tip is like bringing that conscious awareness into, like being naked. And so, like, you're already showering naked, most likely,
Mm.
and like bringing awareness into that of like, whoa, hey, even just saying, like, I'm naked, like, I'm in my naked body and I'm about to take a shower. And I would do it like that and say it like that.
So, do you have any other messages that you would like to share?
Mm,
Do
yeah.
you have a tip for when people are like, when people are, after this is finished and people are putting their clothes back on? Do you do sort of that in a conscious way, so that you're still connected while you're doing it?
Yeah. So what was right there was about when you asked the question originally was just like, be gentle with yourself. Like wherever you are in your journey with this is okay. Like we all start somewhere and yeah, it might suck that like, we're carrying around these layers of shame and like be gentle with yourself with wherever you are right now. So as you're listening, you're noticing these places where you're freed up and where you're not. Be gentle, be slow. Um, yeah,
And
and so like when we put our clothes back on, we do it really rapidly and quick. No. Um just bring in and we can do that right now. Like you just like what I would suggest is that close your eyes again and presence yourself to your body in the way that we did when we declothed and just tune in and have whatever clothing it is, or your sock, or your blazer, or your earring, or your ring, or whatever you took off, or your pants. And if you want to put them back on, and as you begin to put that piece of clothing back on, do it slowly. Like if you're putting a shirt back on, like it's like one arm at a time, and you just like bring it up slowly. And you can even pause, like pause putting it on, like maybe just stop somewhere and take a breath, and then continue to pull that piece of clothing on. And then once that piece or pieces of clothing are back on, just again, close your eyes and just notice. What do you notice? Does it feel different than even when you took your clothing off? Chances are it probably will, it might not. But putting your clothes back on might make you more aware of how constricted you feel, but it also might have opened up something for you that it feels a little lighter.
yeah, absolutely. Pay attention to the feelings of how did you feel before and how do you feel now.
Yeah, which is so important to just take and it's just taking inventory. There's no right or wrong. Sometimes you might do it and you feel more freed up than other times, and that's okay. And the context matters, right? Like, what are you thinking about? What do you got going on in your head? What environment? Do you have something, a short time crunch? All those things can impact, taking a naked break for yourself.
And
Mm.
where can people find you? Where are your
Mm.
platforms? I will put them all below.
Well, my website's a really great place because it doesn't get censored or taken down, which is my name, kerrykott.com. And the Naked Human podcast is my podcast, so you can find me there. And all my social media links are also on my website. And right now, my Instagram handle is Nature is Always Nude. I like to say that because I have had an account deleted, so the handles and things could change. But my website and my podcast are, like strong pillars to find me on.
Well, thank you for today.
Mm.
It was definitely different from the other episodes that I have done. I look forward to reading people's comments. I want to know who joined in and what came up for you. Yeah, let us know. Share below.
Mm. So much love to you, Crystal, and all the listeners for your courage and getting naked together.
Thanks for being here, beautiful souls. The Awaken Mama podcast is a special place for us to grow, heal, and rise together because you're never alone on this journey. I'd love to connect with you, so don't be shy. Please comment below your takeaways and let us build this empowered community. Remember to hit like, hit subscribe, and join me every Sunday at 2:22 Angel Numbers for more conversations to support your wellness, wholeness, and awakening. I'm truly grateful you're here.